Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the show. It's Monday. It's Labor Day. Labor Day for any of you guys with jobs. If you don't have a job, it's not a holiday for you, but happy Labor Day. Hopefully your guys' weekends have been great. Hopefully you're settling in, getting ready for the week to come, the short week, which is always great, always a good thing to look forward to. And and getting it started off with some of the word, right? Even if it means after having to filter it through myself. How's it going, everybody? My name is Stuart Davis, flawed man of God, a humble parishioner at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. I'm just here to talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them, one that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 41 years, non denominational Protestant. Don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right. Many times I'll get it wrong. But no matter what, if you're listening to my voice, if you're catching this stream, you can count on whatever it is that we're discussing. You're getting my honest takes on. So if you're somebody who is seeking out Christ, maybe for the first time, maybe coming back, if you are somebody who is new, somebody who is wanting to learn more about God, you've found that you're missing something in your life and you think it might be Jesus. And you've come to the internet of all places. You've come to the internet of all places for validation, motivation, encouragement, and somehow you landed on in this place. If that's the case, look, right now, right at the beginning, there's no bait, lead in, or anything to get you to watch longer. If that's what you're looking for, you're on the right track. Keep going. If you're pursuing Christ, you have my best wishes for you. I want you to be doing that. And I think it's a great thing that you have. And I think you can do it. I think you can do it. I'm rooting for you. The chat's rooting for you. The other viewers are rooting for you. God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, angels in heaven, all rooting for you. The heavenly host, as it were. We're all rooting for you. And if that's not motivation enough, I don't know what else to tell you. But good, good for you and your pursuits. If you're pursuing Jesus, you're on the right path. That's your spoiler alert. So if that's all you needed and you just wanted to tune out, fine, I don't care. But you might be interested in staying just to hang out with us because we talk about faith, we talk about the word in a very relaxed, very informal setting. And we'd love for you to be a part of that. Love for you to be part of that and join us in our conversations. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. Same thing. We want to hear from you. We run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's about small group. It's about having folks that you recognize come in and looking for folks that you don't recognize come in, and then all just talking about scripture as we read through it, which is our current project. We have been out for a couple of years now. It's been a couple of years we've been working through, and we're in Proverbs, so we've covered some ground, but we still got a long ways to go. Long ways to go, but I'm excited for it. I want you to be there. So no matter where you are, brand new Christian to the Christian who's been one all their life, smarter in the faith, more knowledgeable in the faith, more mature in the faith, or maybe somewhere in in between, please get in the chat. I want to hear from you. We got a great group of folks who tune in night in and night out, and they're part of the show. They're part of the show, part of the small group, part of whatever it is you want to call this. I want to call it great. But you can be part of that too, and it's easy. Just talk. Just talk in the chat. We're a small enough group that if you put something in that chat box, I'll read it and respond to it. So tell me what you agree with or disagree with. What do you think I'm doing right? What do you think I'm doing wrong? What unique insight, perspective, or experience do you have that you think you can add to the conversation? Or maybe you just want to add on to something somebody else has said. Give your opinion. Ask questions. I'm probably not going to be able to answer all the questions. Just managing expectations here. But at least we can talk about it. And maybe I can point you in the right direction. Maybe somebody in the chat knows the answer or knows where to find it. But that's what it is. And with that said, let's get the show on. Welcome on Monday night. I thought it was especially important to stream tonight. We're going to be heading into Thursday night. I might stream. It might be late, depending on how I'm feeling. I've got softball, but they're early games on Thursday. So I might be able to get home and be in a mind to talk about the word. So we'll see how that goes. Following week, no streaming. There will be no streaming next week. So there's that. How's everybody doing? Y'all ready to start on Proverbs 18? Could be a lot like Proverbs 17, a lot like Proverbs 16, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Like I said, Proverbs is a lot of fundamentals. When we've traveled, that's pretty much what we've covered in Scripture so far. Fundamentals and history. Beginning in Genesis, right? Then we get into you're not that late, Yex. Beginning in Genesis, then we cover the Exodus, which is a mix of fundamentals and history. Joshua, Judges, lots of history, a little bit of fundamentals, but a lot of history there, going through Kings and Chronicles. Ruth, forgot to add Ruth in there. We started probably around Job to really get into talking about faith, behavior, discernment, etc. Badger skins, not so much badger skins. Aggie skins, though. Notre Dame took down Texas A&M Saturday. Yes. Sorry about your luck, Texas A&M. Nothing against you, but glad Notre Dame pulled out the W. Alex Moore is in the house. Music time. Matt Felty following up with a wave. Yex late-ish, but here. And Nernaeth already talking about taxidermy and what do you call it? Fur trading? Not a furry, but a furrier. And that doesn't make you more of a furry. It means you would actually be something that furries would fear, right? A furrier, a trapper, that kind of thing. Someone who skins animals and treats the fur. So, gosh, we need more of them. All right, so let's get started. Right in for things. Yeah, unless they're the ones being tracked by the furrier. Um, who is it? Flash gets. Gosh, Flash gets. They are the ones. Their recent furry crusade. They had it was the Black Templar Space Marines teaming up with um Bluey to take down furries obsessed with the show, and they're everywhere. All right, Proverbs 18. Let's begin it. Let's begin. Usually work with, but it's not pronounced furrier. It's Fourier, right? Fourier transformers. I don't know. I don't know. I don't speak French or whatever. Paris talk. Contrast the upright and the wicked. We've been in this section of Proverbs for a while now. This is the last chapter on that. And folks, if you're new to this, we got the Amplified that was recommended by Mr. Yex here. Been a big fan ever since reading into it. And for when it gets a little bit too, when it's might be a little bit too complicated to read through, which is weird because Amplified normally breaks everything down best. But it seems like it's had some struggles in Psalms and Proverbs, and I think that has more to do with the fact that there's a little bit of poetry aspect, especially in Psalms, into this a little bit. It's harder to add that context. So when it gets a little like we don't necessarily know what it's talking about, we'll come over here to the New International Version and see if it can give us some clarity there. You know, see if there's a translation that'll help. Thad the man is in here. What's going on? Oh man, I have to get a job so I can get holidays. Well, you're old, right? Are you retired on Social Security? Maybe in a nursing home? Didn't expect pelt trading in the chat tonight, neither did I. But you really never know what internet's going to bring to the chat, other than you're never going to know. You know that you won't know. Thad man just saw that Tucker dropped a video on Jonestown. Also Thad, you might be happy to see. You might be interested in that video you tagged me in with that lady. It's getting a lot of traction. Some of the things she said. Um, Matt Walsh picked it up off of Protestia. Christian Twitter's talking about it. It's just, but it's the same story. What she's saying is not new in progressive churches. That Jesus would have been pro-choice. That Jesus would have been affirming. Oh, so Yex, and you might be able to find it on your own. But kind of give you the cliff notes. It's a female pastor, PCUSA Presbyterian. It still just blows my mind that Calvinists have that some Calvinists have female pastors, but she was preaching and talking about how she moonlights as an escort, or like an escort of women who are going from point A to point B to get abortions. And she said Jesus would have done that as well. Jesus would have been pro-choice. Jesus would have been Jesus would, if Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, that there would have been a beatitude about women. Yeah, heretic. That there would have been a beatitude about pro-choice. Jesus would have agreed with me, sweetie. Yeah. Yeah. So, But again, nothing new. This is the same type of this is a pastor who we've seen them before. They wear the crap. What do you call the vestments with the little towel, or when it's not really a towel. I can't remember what it calls it. It's Monday, and I'm taking the day off. So, um, but it's pink and it's got Planned Parenthood on it, or it's the rainbow flag. It's and it's always stole. Thank you, stole. Stole is that the stole? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Bathrobe. Serrano said that's what it looks like. It is the stole. Okay, all right. We've got Yex with the answer, and Nernaeth backing him up on that with the co-signing. Um, it's there's always a message there. Stolen virtue, which is imagine unironically feeling compelled to use your outfit, your vestments as the clothes of your office as a billboard for political political message. It's all about affirmation. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And unfortunately, you know, this is where, us Protestants get a lot of flack for it, but when these things are exist, even though we don't agree with them, us more traditional Protestant type denominations and believers don't agree with them, don't think they should exist. They think they're wrong. We don't consider them brothers in Christ, brothers or sisters in Christ. They're not in communion with the Lord. Got to take our lumps on it that these things broke out as well, not necessarily out of the Martin Luther's Reformation, but out of the Reformation, out of that split. Um, Mainline Protestant denominations generally, like Methodists and Anglicans and some of the Lutherans, do have these kind of subsects of their denominations to do this. And it's awful to see. Always go to the Times. And you know what? They're never popular. It's always online. They don't grow. That's always a dying off. It doesn't make them better. It doesn't grow the kingdom. Of course, if you're spreading heresies, you're not growing the kingdom anyway. But it's just kind of interesting. The fruit of these sermons is generally folks who are just going through the motions, going to church, or just wanting to hear their political narrative preached to them, so that they feel like their political opinions are okay. These folks have it's upsetting on a spiritual level to know that this stuff goes on, but it's kind of it's kind of a new tact of an old story. This is how Satan subverts. Did he really mean that? Maybe he meant this. Or don't you want to empower yourself? Don't you want to do what you want? Go back to the Garden of Eden. Go back to Israel and worshiping false idols and the child sacrifice, all that stuff, the great evils, the pagan rituals. It's not new. It's not new, but for I guess, quote unquote, kinder and gentler world, this is how it is messaged. This is how it is uh, propagated to you. And instead of being a conquering thing, it's more along the lines of let's be insidious and insipid and try to corrupt the church from within. Of course, that's not new either. Again, look at what they did in Israel and Judah with the church and how corrupt they got that. during the king's era of Israel and Judah. It's happened before. They know it works. And, call it apostasy, call it deconstruction, call it whatever you like. It's still the work of the devil. The devil. And you might think it's for you. You're just falling into that trap. And there's a difference between doing it without remorse and with the hubris and self enlightenment that you think you have, and stumbling along the way, and you're still trying to get it right, still trying to be better. You might screw up here and there, or I'm sorry, you will screw up here and there, but there is remorse. There is a path to correction and improvement and such things. So, but yeah, that's what that was. All right, so I'm gonna take a quick break. Gonna go tuck the sun in. So I'm gonna leave you guys with some Salters, and how do I get to this? No. There we go. And I'll be back, and I'm gonna be back when I'm back. All right.
Flowers in the air, fish of the sea, all that passes the same. How excellent in all the earth, Lord, our Lord is thy name.
Lord, be our praise with all my heart. Thy wonders all proclaim. In thee, most high, I'll greatly joy and sing unto thy name. When our foes would turn, they fell and perish at thy sight. For thou maintainest my right cause on thrones as judging right. The heathen you cast, the wicked overthrow. Thou hast put out the names that they never more be known. O enemy, thou structures have an effectual. Thou cities raised, perish with them, is their glory. Thou shalt joyful eye, doth judgment set his throne. In righteousness to judge the world, justice to give each one. God, so will refuge be.
Dude, I jam out to that Psalm 9 one. All right. Let's get down to business, shall we? Shall we? Emmanuel had a good weekend. Had a good weekend. Had some friends over. Kind of the usual thing. There we go. There we go. Fix that there. That looks good. All right. Proverbs 18. Contrast the upright and the wicked. Verse 1. He who willfully separates himself from God and man seeks his own desire. He quarrels against all sound wisdom. Nath, I think you know who I'm thinking about right now. Willfully separates himself from God and man. The from God's pretty obvious. From God, from his commandments, these things. But from man, from us, makes me from looking at it from today's standpoint, it sounds to me like a lot like church congregation, right? You're not just separating yourself from what God's saying, but also the people who believe, who might help correct you and bring you back. People who might be looking out for your best interests. People who might be a good check on your ego. People who care, right? You turn your back on them. Turn your back on God. You turn your back on those things, those people, and it's really just a pursuit for your own ends. Yeah, it could be mental and physical separation, and oftentimes will lead to mental separation. I used to be of the opinion that you didn't, and this is because of my own poor experience. And I was wrong about it, but you didn't need church to be a faithful Christian. And I feel like that is a very dangerous idea. And this is somebody who believed for all my life, but went through a period where I didn't go to church. And when I got back, I realized that there's drift, right? There's no recentering. And for me, to use it like there's a lot of times where the faith is used compared to a weapon or a tool, an instrument. You have to calibrate, or as we do, we say in guns, you have to zero your weapon. You have to check to make sure your sights line up with where the rifle is shooting at, or whatever firearm you have. That the sights are zeroed in where they need to be. Many factors can actually affect the accuracy of your sights, and just over time, temperature changes, also tuning an instrument, right? You need to be in tune. Same thing. If I pulled my guitar out right now that I haven't played in 2 years, it's not going to be in tune. It's got to be tuned up. You got to tune it up regularly for it to stay that way. You have to zero your weapon to make sure it stays accurate. And that's the best description I could say from my time away from church. That accuracy had shifted. I had drifted away in some respects. And I needed that. I needed church to reel me back in. I was mad at God during that time frame. I was mad at people for stabbing me in the back, for not being a community that wanted me. It was difficult. But again, like I say on here, I have to get over that. I have to pursue that because it wasn't just me now, it was my kids, it was my wife, and making sure um we were a family of Christians and not just me believing in God. But there will be people who go, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I don't need to run this by anybody. I can just interpret this the way I want, and I need to. And I don't need to be around these folks who are just going to judge me and they're not looking out for me and they're just going to tell me when I'm wrong. Look, if you're going to a church and all you hear is somebody telling you how wrong you are, you're not in the right church. Even if you are doing a lot of wrong things, there should be some encouragement. There should be some invitation there. There should be some, hey, we're in this together, working for you. But you don't separate yourself from God, and you don't separate yourself from the church just because you've run into a couple bad actors or because you think you know better. And there it is, seeks his own desire. This kind of ties in with what we were talking about with the lady, the lady preaching about how God or Jesus would have been pro-choice and given beatitudes. Seeking your own desire, reading your own beliefs into scripture instead of being objective about it. This is scary. And this is scary because, and I can relate to this because I've got family members. I got people I care about who do the same thing. And these are people that I think would be an asset to the church and would be well served by the church if they would plug in, if they would attend, if they would be a part of the congregation. What kind of Christian refuses to go to church, though? Well, we talk about it a little bit here, those seeking their own desires. I got better things to do, right? What are you prioritizing, Christian? Are you like what does the word Christian mean to you? What does the identity of Christian mean to you? That you believe? How much do you believe? How important is your faith to you? Is Sunday football, which doesn't start until after pretty much all the churches are released, more important to you? Well, I say that on the East Coast. I know it's probably not the same on the West Coast, but is football more important to you than God? Are your kids' sports activities more important to you? Look, I love that my son plays soccer. I love that I get to coach him. Love that I'm here for them in that to that capacity. Love that my daughter is active in her own activities and practices and things. But if those events happened on Sundays during church hours, they wouldn't be doing them. And it used to be there was a lot more respect for that. We used to be a proper nation, right? We used to be a proper country. Used to be this stuff, baseball, little league baseball, football, all that stuff used to happen on Saturdays, after church on Sundays. That is gone by the wayside. So what matters more? Where are your priorities? Some of it's that. Yes. Some of it is I don't trust the church. I've been burned by the church before. The church hurt argument, which again, I've been there, right? I don't buy the excuse because that's what it was. It was me, and that's what it felt like when I was saying it. Felt like an excuse, like I genuinely didn't, but at the same time, it was because I didn't want to put myself out there again. But again, what are your priorities? How much does your faith matter to you? So you convince yourself, And it's not that difficult to do when you don't want to do it. So I come down hard on them, but there's reasons. God said I can be greedy and gluttonous. Wait, what do you mean he said that the body is the temple? That's not in the Bible. No. You can twist words to say it's not. You can be mad when you've put yourself in a situation where you're not in a good place with God. Sure, you've got salvation. Forgiveness is at your hand, but do you want it? Are you asking for it? Are you showing humility? Where is the sackcloth? Or are you better than that? Are you too good for that? Simple, is eternal salvation worth going your own path? No. The sad part, here's the really sad part. As much as I was like, don't black pill. Here's your bit of black pilling for me. There are plenty of folks who don't care, don't believe enough, aren't worried about it. And then that's the ex-evangelicals follow up behind that with their, well, hell isn't real. Everybody's going to be saved. God wouldn't do that. Nightly study turned to nightly news coverage. It scares me. They have more reference for this election than they do Christianity. They wouldn't admit it, but you know them by their fruits. I know that. Yes, right there with you. See that. Or I see a lot of people who need it you need to grab them a little bit and shake them and be like, hey, what's the motivation here? Who's more important? Jesus or Trump? Right? Don't have to like everything he says. You don't have to carry his water all the time. He said some things that we don't like as Christians. Doesn't it's just you got to be able to admit the faults on things. Admit that policy isn't in line with what we agree with, what we know is right. You have to make an informed decision. It's psychological. It's easy to get distracted from God by literally everything else. Yeah. It's easy how is Yex not a moderator on here? All right, well, I'm fixing that. It is. It's easy for the life that's right in front of your face to get more of your bandwidth, more of your attention, more of your dedication than God, you know, because he's always who we run to. Right. You can't keep, if you have him at arm's reach, he's always going to be at arm's reach. He's not going to be the focus. And that's the other thing that church helps do, brings that back into focus. Your family can be a distraction. Your job can be a distraction. Your hobbies, life can be a distraction. And that's why it's important. And here's the last part of that. He quarrels against all sound wisdom. You try to reason with these people, they've always got a reason. There's always an excuse. There's always an answer back. And it's never, I should be better about this. Yeah, I'm going to make time. Can you help me? Can you help me stay accountable to this? Can you call me Sunday morning, make sure I'm up and moving around? Can you give me a ride to church? Right? That kind of stuff. A closed-minded fool. All right, well, that's enough on that. We're going to move over to verse 2. A closed-minded fool does not delight in understanding, but only in revealing his personal opinions, unwittingly displaying his self-indulgence and his stupidity. Love how these proverbs tie in with each other. We roll right from verse 1. He quarrels against all sound wisdom. The guy who willfully separates him from God and man seeks his own desire. Would you not describe that person as a fool? As maybe a closed-minded fool? Because they're arguing against sound wisdom. They're only seeking their own desire, just reveling in their personal opinions. Listen to me. I try, at least on this show and in other, to say, look, I talk a lot. I have a ton of opinions. I run my mouth a lot. I like to verbalize what I'm thinking, but I try to be upfront enough to say, hey, I'm just a dude. I just am talking. I am going to put my foot in my mouth. I am going to say things that are wrong. I am not an expert on this. I am just giving you my takes based on my experience and what makes sense to me. Because I have been doing it a while, having faith in God, going to church, studying the Bible, etc. But what I talk, and this is kind of why I want a chat. This is kind of why I want to invite as many people as possible to come in here and put me in my place. Wait, Stuart, you're wrong there. Great example. Great example. Unevenly yoked. Talking about Paul and everything. My response to that, I take it personally. It's a bit of a sensitive subject to me because my wife wasn't a believer when we started dating, when we got married, even when we had our first kid together. But because I'm either faithful enough, stubborn enough, or a little column A and column B, I wasn't giving up my faith. Now, had I drifted off? Yes, but part of that was because I wasn't going to church, I think. Those things, I was I was a success story out of that, or I would say my wife's a success story out of that. But it's not normally the case. And people called me to task on that. Okay, Paul tells us not to do it. We shouldn't do it. Doesn't mean that God can't make good out of bad, can't bring good things out of a bad situation, or bring miracles out of mistakes. I've been called to task before. I've been incorrect. Lord knows I've made some doozies. I don't want people hanging on to my word here. I want people excited to come in here and talk with me about it. Put some questions out there. Share, and again, I say that. Ask questions. Share your opinion in the chat. You guys do that. I want people to just enjoy. I want just enjoy other people doing that. Come in, say hi. Hey guys, just checking in, just letting you know I'm here. I'm here. I'm a wallflower. I'm just hanging out and saying hi. I might pipe up every once in a while. Might ask some people to pray for me if I've got something going on. Or people being, hey, I'm from another denomination than you. This is what we teach. This is not the Stuart Davis show. This is not my opinion goes, because I can't go through life with that mentality that I'm the smartest man in the room when I show up. That if you criticize me, that's just you projecting your own insecurities. I've got everything covered. I'm in control. Look, there's a lot in life that'll hit you. The moment you think you're in control is the moment life, one way or another, usually teaches you a very hard lesson. Anti-Stewites. that that rolls a little too well. And I'm critical of other people on social media and other times. Probably should dial it back. But great example. Catholic for Rednecks on Instagram. Terrible representative of the faith. Claims to be Catholic, says he's Catholic, does this, but everything is a talk down to other people. Talk down. I used to be Protestant. I went to seminary. I was a preacher. None of that seems to line up. He consistently doesn't know the difference between denominations. He consistently says things that don't really line up with how things operate in Protestantism. What he sounds like is a guy who has been shopping denominations for a while, and right now this is the flavor of the week. And so I'll call it out in the comments. Be like, hey, these guys are just attacking, these guys are just persecuting you for your faith. No, I'm not. I don't have, and you guys should y'all should know, I don't have a problem with Catholics. There's some stuff I don't agree with, but I don't have a problem with Catholics. I'm not going to attack somebody who said, I'm Roman Catholic. All right, man. Cool. Welcome to the show. Glad to see you here. Right? I don't think, the Orthodox? What is all that mystery stuff that they talk about? There's actually a lot of stuff that I like about it. But no, it's welcome to the show, Yex. Tell us your perspective on this. Bring it in here. But I hate seeing somebody try to put other people on blast on stuff, especially when you don't even get it right. Especially when it comes from a place where I doubt you're telling the truth about your backstory. Look, and now I'm off on a tangent. The closed-minded fool does not delight in understanding, doesn't want to listen, isn't interested in hearing any of that stuff. That's the kind of person that does separate himself from God and man. That's the kind of person displaying his self-indulgence and his stupidity. That's the kind of person who does seek their own desire. Only in revealing his personal opinions. That's all he's interested in doing. That's him quarreling against sound wisdom. These two pair up. These two pair up beautifully. Dad said, don't forget traveling time. Around here, most churches have Saturday evening mass. There's a lot of places out there where they have mass every day. And I will say, look, accessibility for church service sometimes is easier for Catholics on that, just because of that, how they've set that stuff up. But man, beware the church that if you showed up and people were there, if you said, hey, I just need, can you give me some time in the sanctuary, maybe sit with me and let me pray and kind of take this in for a little bit and whatever. And maybe, if there's a preacher there, like, hey, do you have time to talk with me about things? They won't do that. No, they're not going to do it on a regular basis. Maybe some will. Some will take that stuff out of the way, or will go out of their way and spend that time because you're important to them. And they've got the time because there is more to being a pastor than just giving sermons. Contrary to the opinion of some pastors out there, there's more than just running your mouth in front of the group. And sometimes that fills up a schedule. Doing the other things, being there for families during time of loss, counseling in times of strife, being there. Emmanuel said, it's like the way Stu says, the Hollywood Christian. Where's my sunglasses? Put them on like Mavericks. Hollywood Christian. The one who may say, live in. Let me start from the beginning. It's like the way Stu says, the Hollywood Christian, the one who may say, live and let live type. And if you tell someone you're wrong, then you see how hard it is to get that out of that thinking. It is. It is. Hollywood Christian. I like that. Twitter cats. Insanely self-righteous people. Look, it's, you can talk to the trad cat. You can mention the trad cats. You can mention the ortho bros, or you can talk about the cage staging Calvinists. But really, it's most of Christian Twitter across the denominations. And these are just the biggest between the three. And so those are the ones who get the most play. Insanely self-righteous people. I think it's it's the mix of the argument for a lot of these folks. Because I think some of, and I don't know many of these people in real life, but we talk. Maybe maybe that's the anonymity of the internet. Maybe that's the arguing of the debate uh bleeding into how you're interacting with something. That happens with me. I'm as guilty of that, guilty of charge. I need to be better about that. It's hard to switch gears sometimes when talking to people. Oh, the pirates. Oh, look at me. Seeing people say insane stuff, come to bat for the Pope, get people seeing people say insane stuff to come to bat for the Pope, get nutty. Seeing people say insane stuff gets pretty nutty. Oh, you respond. Seeing people say insane stuff to come to bat for the Pope gets pretty nutty. It does. Squirrel emoji is gonna be the tangent flag. Hey, Matt, if I'm ever getting out and I feel like I'm losing it, just put the squirrel up there. I'll stare at that and I'll know that ADHD's taking over. Yex said Cradle Greeks show up right before Eucharist and leave right after. Orthodox have no issue with being late, lol. I have heard this. I've been told this. What's going on, Brenda? I've been told this by some in Catholicism that the Eucharist is the real point of church, which is weird to me. And I might be wholly off the mark there. I might have completely misunderstood because I haven't had that thing. I need to get Chaco on and talk about this. That is weird to me as from with a Protestant background as a non-denominational Christian. Because to me, the worship or the praise and worship section where the music and everything, there is worship in that, which is sacred. There is the sermon, which is the message. That is sacred. And obviously, communion, whether you however you interpret that communion to be, the Eucharist, transubstantiation, a a symbolism, whatever. Any way you're taking that's to be done with reverence. We're instructed to hold that in high regard. But to me, it's like it's not just about communion. It's not just about the Eucharist. That's weird for me going in there, doing that, and leaving. I feel like that because there's more to the congregation, there's more to the worship, there's more to all that than that. I want to dig into that a little bit more. Catholics talk a lot of smack for people to get all of their opinions from another guy on what the book means. Well, again, to me, the question mostly with the with the Catholics is you have a pretty well built out doctrine and apparatus, bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it. This is what we believe. And we have the priests, and this is what they're done. This is what they're ordained to do. This is what from apostolic succession. This is what their training. This is their whole life centers around this, to the point where they're not even allowed to marry. Right? You are giving your whole life to the church. These are the folks who are supposed to guide. The problem is when those folks start to get out of line, outside of that apparatus, there's nothing there, or there doesn't seem to be any stomach. There doesn't seem to be any appetite to reel that back in these days. And I don't know how long that's been true or whatever. That's just what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that guy's out there all over Twitter. He's a priest and he's talking about stuff that Catholics hate. And he's in favor of it. They're supposed to not like that at all. They're supposed to stand against that, right? But nothing's done. He's still running his mouth. You've got, we've talked about that last week. So I don't get, Catholics talk about a lot of smack, Orthos talk a lot of smack, Protestants talk a lot of smack. We all talk a lot of smack. But I want us all to have each other's back when it matters. When one of us is having a crisis, when one of us is struggling, that we all huddle up and don't go, well, that's what you get for all the Mary prayers, or that's what you get for iconography, oh, that's what you get for thinking the Eucharist is symbolic. We're there to keep a boot on the head, on the necks of these folks. We need to be looking out for each other, because we do all have more in common in our faith than we do have differences. So it's so funny that most of the argumentative orthos are catechumens, meaning they aren't even part of the church yet. It's like a pattern. Once they get confirmed chrismated, they chill out. I think for the most part they do. Yeah. You get really quiet. Maybe that's why they don't. I don't know. I mean, that was one of the things I liked about Christian Mario. Yeah, I respected about Christian Mario when he's like, "Hey, look, I'm not running my mouth. I'm not talking about any of this stuff until I'm confirmed and I'm out. I'm out of that, learning period." Right, when he converted to Orthodoxy. Hey, I'm reading the chats right now, Serranos. Renee said, talking through the text loses so much tone and breaks the conversational feedback cycle. People say things online that they would never say in person. I do. I say things online that I would say in person. Yeah, because I think Jesus had to tell the Pharisees and religious leaders to chill a lot. I mean, he had to tell the disciples to chill a lot. There's a lot of times the disciples got ahead of themselves, and he's like, "Hey, guys, how about you not?" The Ortho-Catholic view would have a lot to do with Eucharistic sacrifice, theosis, etc. For us, it's the center bit. It's the center because it's the most direct way to receive God's grace. Now, I agree with that, but to me, it's like that's all that matters. I have to move some weeks, so I don't see those cradles and get upset. Shouldn't let it get to me. You just pray for them. Just pray for them. I don't know. I mean, that's my only answer. You try to feel like, hey, maybe something pulls them out of that routine, and they remember why they take it. They're supposed to take it so seriously. But it's just like, I would say not just like CNE, but it's another version of CNE Christians. They show up Christmas and Easter, and that's it. Okay, like I said, I could have misinterpreted that period. But have you been to a divine liturgy? It's not at all. No, I have not. No, I have not. It's actually on my list of things to do. Like if somebody invited me um and my schedule was okay with doing it, I would do it. I would do it. I'm not avoiding it for any reason other than making excuses. All right, 3. When the wicked man comes to the depth of evil, contempt. Wait. Oh, when the wicked man comes to the depth of evil, contempt of all that is pure and good also comes. And with inner baseness, not baseness, dishonor comes outer shame and scorn. This is following. We're following on a theme here from the first 2 verses. Because if you've willfully separated yourself from God, and you're seeking your own desire, if you're only worried about your own opinions, you're not just foolish, but you're wicked. And when that's there, Contempt of all that is pure and good also comes, and with inner baseness, dishonor, comes outer shame, scorn. I don't know. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. Oh, I mean, what are we all doing? We're communicating, we're talking. It's not what we're doing. We're listening to each other. If one of us had a problem, and it's happened in here before, we all, hey, thinking about you, buddy. We're praying for you. How's this going? How's X going? Porcupine's a great example of that. That's not exactly the same as listening to each other, but we're all paying attention. This person, so separated, so removed from faithfulness in God, from brotherhood with his fellow Christians, that he is, I'm on an island. It's just me. I know what I'm doing. I don't need God. I've got it all figured out. I can do what I want. You can't judge me. If you judge me, then you don't care and you don't know me. You don't know, and it's all the it's all you've heard it all before. The person who's not interested in listening to you, they're not interested in changing. They're not interested in hearing that they might not be doing something correctly. But it's your problem. It's your problem for bringing it up. It's your problem for trying to help out. It's you're the bad guy. There's the contempt. There's the contempt. But how do you end up looking in the end? You end up looking like an ass. For lack of a better word, that's how you end up looking. You look conceited. Or you look like someone trying to play the victim. You look like somebody trying to deflect. And maybe some folks believe you. But I tell you what, the shame is deserved. I hate it when people, shame's abusive. No, it really isn't. Like when you use shame as a weapon, yeah. When you use shame as a cudgel to beat somebody, yeah. But shame shouldn't come necessarily from other people. It should come from inside. The realization that you've done something that is shameful, that might need to come from outside. But you should feel that way. There should be guilt. That's part of what will drive you for repentance, to make you understand, I have wronged God big time. I do owe some big apologies. I do need to humble myself. But that's not there when you're in verse 3, when you're the guy in verse 3. And that might not be your whole personality. That might not be your whole identity. A lot of times we'll be that guy in like one aspect of what we're doing. Most of the time people feel shame because they know they messed up. I think when Jesus asked the woman, "Does anyone condemn you?" the woman could have condemned herself. It's where repentance comes in. And that shame is a reminder. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that anymore. That's not abuse. The idea that you feel shamefully about something is not abusive. It's not the church trying to push you down. It's holding you accountable. It's requiring you to be responsible. But the most important thing it's doing, it's trying to drive you to repent. They want you to feel shame because they want that to come out of you. And so you can get it out there and you can get it off your own conscience, and you can get out of your own head thinking that maybe you didn't do anything wrong. Four is interesting. The words of a man's mouth are like deep waters, copious and difficult to fathom. The fountain of mature and godly wisdom is like a bubbling stream, sparkling, fresh, pure, and life giving. Sounds almost like an advertisement for like Dasani water or something like that. Fuji water. Um, Yek says shame is a tool God uses for our salvation, but we shouldn't feel so shameful that we feel like we can't approach God. Yes, right. Yes, exactly. And as the church, we shouldn't be using shame to punish people so much to the point where, or control people, right? It's not a weapon. It's a motivational device. But seriously, there's a time and place for shame. And there are times where it has been abused in the past. And it is being abused now and will be abused in the future. Because we're all broken people. But just because you're calling somebody out doesn't mean you're pretending you're perfect. You just care. Its own form of pride. To me, I feel it's just despair. Or maybe not necessarily pride, but a lack of faith in God, right? Or what God, not that God exists, but that God has made sacrifices for you, has shown grace to you, that stuff's available to you. Nernaeth, lots of people can talk without saying anything. I feel attacked. But when words are inspired by God, it gets to the point and is useful and understood. You don't drink from deep, still water. I like it. I like it. Good job, Nernaeth. Words of a man's mouth are like deep waters, copious and difficult to fathom. But the fountain of mature godly wisdom is like a bubbling stream, sparkling, fresh, pure, and life giving. For the Niv, it's much shorter. The words of the mouth are deep waters, but the fountain of wisdom is a rushing stream. And I like what Nernath kind of points out here. You don't drink from deep water. You drink from a stream, rushing water. And what do we see? Sparkling. But here's the fresh, pure, life-giving. Life-giving. We don't know what we're getting. Something difficult to fathom. They say a lot. Take it easy, X. We're gonna do one more after this, and we're gonna be following you. Thanks for being here, buddy. Always good to see you. The fountain of mature, godly wisdom, like a bubbling stream. Don't listen to airhead or hotheads like me running my mouth. Or we can do the old LeVar Burton reading Rainbow. Don't take my word for it. Check it out yourself. Read what we go over. Because I do talk a lot. See you as well, Manuel. Good seeing you too, buddy. You talk a lot, not understood well, not very clear, not necessarily right. Mature, godly wisdom. And they say fountain, fountain. It's fresh water. It is pure. It is not going to poison you. It's not going to cause you to be sick. It is life. Water is life. I guarantee if you want a second opinion on any verse in the Bible, you can find one. Yeah. All right. Last one for tonight. Verse 5. To show respect to the wicked person is not good, nor to push aside and deprive the righteous of justice. This one the Niv tends to tie these in together a little bit more, or a little bit better, I think, than Amplified. It is not good to be partial to the wicked and so deprive the innocent of justice. Don't side with the wicked so that the righteous are denied justice. This happens, right? Well, the nice guys finish last type of thing. Now it's not in that really in it so much as that. This has to do with corruption, or sometimes maybe just because it's your buddy who did the wrong thing that you're going to side with them. Yeah, that was the first one that struck me, Matt, when we talked on this last week with the bribes, right? Maybe you're in a position to put this in a more innocent sounding, less nefarious as, a politician taking a bribe, where it's everything about it is laced with corruption and wickedness. But maybe it's not, it puts us in a difficult position to stand on our principles and side with the person who is right. And thus we let it slide. The person who is in the wrong is given a pass. And thus we have done the wrong thing because it's easier. Put it in a church perspective. Deacon does something wrong. We'll use a deacon. That's good. Deacon does something wrong. Person complains. It's wrong enough that it needs to be addressed. But the deacon is a bit cantankerous. They want to make a bunch of noise about it. And, some of their friends are elders. Some of their friends are other deacons. So you're like, we'll let this slide. Don't worry about it. You tell the person who they've wronged, you need to move past this, right? Or it was just so and so. It was just Joe being Joe, right? Because you're just trying to not rock the boat. You don't want to make waves because it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be in an uncomfortable position. Did you do the right thing? Preacher gets up, makes a sermon on something that not very good. We need to address this so that everybody knows that it was what was said was wrong. Well, now you've called out your pastor, and now he's hurt, and now he's going to quit. So you don't want to go looking for a new pastor. I don't know. It was a literal translation. I don't know. I told you I'm not a biblical scholar, Matt. I'd say at the beginning of all my shows. Let's see what ESV says. What are we on? 5. It is not good to be partial to the wicked or to deprive the righteous of justice. And what is it? North American Standard? Is that what the NA? Yeah, North American Standard. To show partiality to the wicked is not good, nor to suppress the righteous in judgment. Amplified seems so Niv seems to be making a correlation here that it's a little it's not really there. I mean, you can see it, but that's how those two can relate. This is putting them both together in one action, right? Whereas what we see from the Amplified is two separate. Well, it's relating them, but not in the same necessarily the same scenario. But it makes it easier to illustrate. So like I like the Amplified more. The more I read it, the more I like it. Though it is tough sometimes. It's a bit of a challenge sometimes here in these last two books. Job, it was great. Plenty of context being given in it. So, but yeah, hard decisions being made. Operation Gothic Serpent. What is more well known as the Black Hawk Down incident. All right. What was politically expedient was done, even though what was being told is like, this is what we need. This is what we need to do to make this plan run correctly. But no, we don't. Well, we don't want to make a lot of noise on this. We don't want to, be in the headlines over this. So we're not going to give you the equipment that you asked for. We're not going to go with the battle plan you said is the most effective. Just take a convoy in there. You get Delta, fast rope in, get them out, and we'll go with it. And the guy that Tom Sizemore played, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name. He's a sergeant, but he's the colonel during that whole thing. The colonel who was there, we'll talk about the hard right decisions. And I think that ties in pretty well with this proverb. Right. It's not always an easy choice. You got to stand on principle. And if you allow the wicked to be favored, and if you deny justice to the righteous, where does that lead you? Disaster. McKnight. Danny McKnight. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. I've got his book sitting on my shelf at work. in my office. Streets of Mogadishu. So I thought so too. Anyway, all right. Oh, Matt, sorry. I was reading this earlier. There was a great video from Ruslan on the Passion Translation, by the way. Highly recommend. You'll see why it's not on Bible Gateway. The Passion is one. I've heard a lot of bad things about it, that it's way out of context. But I haven't looked into it enough. It hasn't been I've just heard a lot of people go, avoid this. Period. As the kiddos say. But that one's supposed to be all about good feels. Or at least that's the impression I'm given. It's Cap. It's Cap, fam. Not now. That's what I got when you said quotes on translation. Maybe that might be a good topic for an off Bible study episode live stream. Is that would be a good one to go off of. All right, well, that's going to wrap us up. Woo, hour and a half tonight. We had some good discussion. Some squirrels. There were some squirrels there. So, Matt, Nernaeth, thank you guys. Serranos, Emmanuel Osorio, and Yex. Brenda, hello. Thad the man. I think that's our cat. Oh, Alex. That's the crew tonight. That's the chat crew tonight. And guys, thank you. Thank you for, I mean, what do we have? An hour and a half of discussion? That's not all me talking. That's y'all talking as well. Appreciate that. It's not this isn't filler time. And maybe we're a little off topic. Maybe we're a little drawn off the rails. But what are we're still talking about important things, and that's great. That's great. And I think that was one of the things I was wondering was going to happen with Proverbs, and I thought might have happened with Psalms too, but it didn't seem to come off as bad or come off the same way with Psalms because they don't break down like Proverbs does. But that's where we go. And that's good. It's good where we're drawing this much out of this much text. Thank you guys for your words. Thank you guys for what y'all do for the show. Great having you guys on here. For everybody who is just listening, just part of the audience, look, you're more than welcome. In fact, actively encouraged by me to be in the chat. But I'm just happy that you're tuning in, that you're finding the show edifying enough. I find it edifying enough, or you find it edifying enough to keep coming back. That's awesome. For everybody who's catching this show on replay, thank you for watching. Sorry I missed you. Hope to catch you live sometime soon. In the meantime, everybody have a good night, and God bless.